Part of the show by calling 915-544-KTSM, 915-544-5876, or comment online on our stream at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. It's 4 p.m. Mountain Time, and that means it's time to talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on our various social media pages, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk. Or you got some people percolating in over there. So again, well, on most of those pages anyway, wherever you got us is the best place for you to find us then. But we make all those options available in case it's a preferred platform. You got people commenting on pretty much all of them now. Twitter's more of a DM thing. But the point is not just to be omnipresent, but to be the most useful to y'all in our continuing mission to have more discussion about the things that actually affects us here in the borderland. It's not just a name, but a mission to make sure that we are truly acting and being informed on, having a discussion, all those good parts of the many topics, whether it be state, local, national, international, as has often been the case. And definitely some of those things on our docket here for today. Just a couple of things top of mind for me anyway. There's more going on with some of those mansion party things and restraining orders continuing on with that. More going on with the district attorney's office and a lot more case dismissals being sought there. And our guest today actually is going to be the defense attorney who has brought the court-filed petition. So not petition that you and I signed, but in the legal filing sense petition in order to seek the removal of the district attorney for El Paso. Train derailment also kills one and causes an evacuation of a Lower Valley neighborhood. So a lot to get in here, plus also UMC tax rates being set here, as we, of course, have that looming decision and much further discussion very much coming when it comes to the actual certificates of obligation there. So don't make any mistake about that missing, but also more discussion anticipated this afternoon here as it's still going on. You can catch coverage from our news partners there at KFOX 14 when it comes to what is going on with the city, basically the local government response to the migrant situation, the crossings that we continue to see here, and the increased use and deployment of resources in our area to deal with it here. So yeah, ever so slightly a jam-packed show for you here today. So let's get to one of those. We often are paying attention to news and different things in my house, but it's not often that we have some utterances of profanity when it comes to serious things happening overnight. And that was definitely the case here as we were kind of packing up for the day last night, seeing the news about what had happened near the 7700 block of Barton Street in the Lower Valley, according to our news partners over there at KFOX 14, where a train derailed and hit a gas line in the Lower Valley around 9:18. Two train cars also damaged a shed and a fence, but really hitting that gas line. I mean, train derailments are not totally foreign to this area. They certainly have happened, but usually don't trigger evacuations of the nearby neighborhood because a rail car that was derailed ruptured a natural gas line. So about 50 people had to be evacuated from their homes Monday night. So not the kind of knock on your door that you'd probably be wanting there. And I can only imagine the serious, you're hearing this hell of a thing going on in the background there because I'm sure it wasn't quiet for that neighborhood. And then finding out, oh, by the way, there might be potential explosions. Now, one person did die, not from the actual anything with the gas line apparently, but a train conductor was killed after the rail car fall onto him here. So Mario Aurelio Navarro, the train conductor, killed in the accident. So very unfortunate set of circumstances happening there again in the Lower Valley. We'll have more details, of course, from our news partners there, but essentially there had been maintenance going on and there were ways to make sure that on the rail line as it was being worked on, a train wouldn't go over it, but appears that something went wrong and some of the devices. Anyone in the industrial sector might be familiar with the concept of lockout, tag out. Essentially, the concept seems similar here except for use of the rail line. Flacameta saying, rest in peace to the conductor who perished. It's never a good thing. I'm glad it wasn't worse, I guess, is the silver line, in particular with the rail line, again, hitting the gas line as it derailed. But yeah, that's not good. And expecting there will probably be some investigation and some consequences there. A train derailment device apparently was left on the tracks after work was being done here, but yeah, there's definitely probably going to be a lot more of it, but some residents were able to start returning to their homes as of last evening in any case here. So I'm sure that cleanup will take a while. Okay, this is completely not germane, but is mildly fascinating to me that there's a complete untouched industry focused on doing with the aftermath of train derailment. So we'll probably see that coming around here. Remember one of the last times that happened when there was happening closer to, on just under I-10, where it actually hit one of the concrete pilings under one of the overpasses on I-10. And the amount of vehicles and specialized things descending upon the area to deal with that was interesting, even if the circumstances for why it's happening is not great. Also, just as a side note, they're involving some of the legal issues we've been discussing here. Temporary order against the mansion party business to remain in place. Of course, it was put in place a little bit halfway through this month, and it's still going to be kept there, and no more will be happening there. So I'm sure any of our residents out there in Far East in the Homestead Valleys or Homestead Meadows, I don't live out that and don't go out to that area that often here. So if you're out in that area, I'm sure there might be a little bit of a sigh of relief, though, waiting for there to be more actual solutions for it. As we also have Ida Beza Gardner joining us over on the social media, probably an important one. But one of the more significant things starting up and continuing on, rather, as of this week is almost a ramping of the case dismissals that are being sought by the local public defender here, Kelly Childress, chief public defender, I should say here. There were a lot of cases dismissed over the past week, numbering in about in the roughly the hundreds. Actually, Chief Public Defender Kelly Childress speaking to our news partners over at KFOX 14, saying that the cases dismissed were about a total of 75 out of 616 motions to dismiss that were filed last Wednesday. And Childress added that there were another 1,100 criminal cases that could also be eligible for dismissal due to them surpassing the 180 days to be indicted there. So we also have Sean Gardner joining us over on the social media. Hello, and waving to you as well. And so this because of the 180 days of lack of action on there. But I tell you what, we're actually going to be talking a little bit further about that, because again, our interview today going to be speaking with Omar Carmona, the private defense attorney who has filed that court filing in court, called a petition, but not the same kind of petition we've talked about otherwise, when it comes to the removal of the district attorney for, well, we'll let him explain his reasoning and what is coming from that, plus what the district attorney has responded to so far. So we're going to go ahead and take that first break of the hour here right now. You are, of course, tuned in to Talk El Paso, airing live here on News Radio 690 KTSM. I am your host, Andrew J. Polk. People chiming in over on the social media. Keep those going if you want to throughout the well, at least we'll get the phone lines open here as well. We'll be doing that a little bit later in the hour, as we usually do. In any case, again, coming out of this break, speaking with Mr. Carmona and the reasoning he had and what we can expect next out of the progression of that potential case. Not by any means a sure thing, but there are some base levels that we'll get into here and what exactly you can expect coming up soon here. So, again, taking that next break right now, coming out of this break, that interview and a whole lot more. So stay tuned. More Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Don't go anywhere.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
Gateway East is closed. All eastbound lanes on Gateway after Reynolds closed. Traffic's being rerouted back onto the I-10 from the Reynolds on-ramp. Back onto the I-10 from the Reynolds on-ramp. I-10 eastbound between Cotton and Geronimo, 5-minute delays. It's slow on the I-10 westbound at Patriot because of a disabled vehicle blocking the right shoulder. And an accident reported Campbell at Montana Avenue downtown. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by the Mark Moss Show podcast.
We reached the tipping point this week. Big news regarding global money and energy just came out, and you better get ready. I'm Mark Moss, helping you navigate the decentralized revolution. So listen to the Mark Moss Show on the iHeartRadio app, on Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey, Mario Courtney Lopez here. We know how important it is to be confident in all of life's close-up moments.
And bad breath can rob you of your confidence.
Yeah, it can. Whenever I'm rubbing elbows with celebrities or friends or just chilling at home, I got to make sure I have the confidence that comes with Smart Mouth mouthwash.
Smart Mouth is clinically proven to eliminate and prevent bad breath for 24 hours with just 2 rinses a day.
Get to your favorite retailer right now for that kind of better together confidence.
Find Smart Mouth at your favorite retailer or at smartmouth.com/radio.
New on Curiosity Street. Louis B. Mayer, Jack Warner, William Fox. Hollywood was the city of dreams, but the beginnings were a nightmare.
You will never work in this town again!
It's Titans, the rise of Hollywood. And Merapi, one of the world's most active volcanoes. Can we better predict its next deadly eruption? A new expedition hunts for life-saving answers on exploring the volcano. Watch now on Curiosity Stream. Annual plans are $20, just $1.67 a month. Visit curiositystream.com.
Hi, this is U.S. Congressman Tony Gonzalez. Are you paying more for just about everything? I know I am. Inflation is costing Texas families thousands of dollars more for everyday goods like groceries. That's why in Congress, I'm working against reckless government spending to help put a stop to skyrocketing inflation. If you have any questions for me about my work to combat inflation, please do not hesitate to reach out at 210-806-9920 or online at gonzalez.house.gov.
Paid for by official funds authorized by the House of Representatives.
Identity theft shows no sign of slowing down. In fact, more than $14 billion stolen last year. That's a criminal success story and a wake-up call. It can be dangerously easy to steal your identity. LifeLock by Norton makes it easy to help protect yourself. If you become a victim, LifeLock will work to fix it. No one can prevent all identity theft, but everyone can save 25% on their first year of protection with promo code BACK at LifeLock.com. LifeLock.com, promo code BACK. Weather and traffic info. You need it? We have it. Traffic and weather all day. Stay informed. News Radio 690 KTSM. News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Welcome back here to Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media services we're up on these days. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch is where you can find us here. A lot of stuff we're talking about today. I mean, a lot of events that have been going on that affect us here in the borderland. But again, turning now to one of the kind of overarching stories that we've been talking about for several weeks now, and well, technically even beyond that of the district attorney, what has been going on with that office, and more specifically, now, more recently anyway, the petition that has now been filed, a court filing anyway, about the removal of the district attorney and what happens with that. So joining us now, we have one of the filers of this petition here, Omar Carmona, attorney with the CLM Law Firm. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me on, Andrew.
Absolutely happy to have you do so here, because this has been kind of a simmering subject, it seemed like, for a while now, about the district attorney. I mean, having a whole new, after a very long-standing district attorney, new, regime in office, new priorities being set. And I think there was a lot of, okay, what's going to happen next? How is this going to work out? And now you have taken some definitive action, again, filing this petition in court, essentially in layman's terms, a court filing, as opposed to the other petitions that we talk about. And what exactly are you seeking with this?
Essentially, I'm seeking the removal of Miss Yvonne Rosales from office as the district attorney of the 34th Judicial District, which serves El Paso, Culberson, and Hudspeth counties.
Yeah, if anyone ever wonders why we talk about the district attorney for El Paso, that's one of the reasons we refer to it anyway like that, because it does cover a whole district, and that includes those, again, multiple counties here. So then why file this now, and what's driving this for you? What's kind of the thought process behind this?
I want it to be very clear that this wasn't, I am an attorney at my law firm, CLM Law Firm, obviously, but this was filed as a citizen of El Paso, okay? Mm-hmm. And any one citizen can file this type of petition in Texas under 87011 of the Texas Government Code. Mm. So I filed it as a citizen, but I understand that I would have insight to a lot of the things going on, being that I am a criminal defense lawyer in town. But bottom line is, I filed it because I'm very concerned where this community is headed, with Ms. Rosales being the top law enforcement officer in our community.
And many people may not necessarily think of the district attorney that way, but of course that is because in the whole, if you want to go with just the law and order format here, you have the, law officers, and then this is the completion of that process with the following through of the prosecution and the cases here. And so in that vein, then people may be very familiar. We've been talking about certainly the amount of cases that the particularly public defender's office has been seeking to get dismissed, numbering at the very least, as the point we're recording this, in the hundreds, certainly
Yes.
here, and potentially reaching the thousands by this week, if it has not already here. I mean, there have been a lot more filings, and progress has been going on that at its own pace here, but it's already being sought. That much is very certain here. Is that a part of what you're talking about, or what you're seeking here, or is it broader than this?
That was one of the points I made, was that we're seeing Ms. Rosales' office, because of a lack of attorneys. She doesn't have the attorney power, so to speak, to have all these cases screened. So just because at the end of Mr. Esparza's administration, then we have Ms. Rosales come in, and obviously, as everyone was aware of, there were a lot of positions that were not rehired. Okay. It's not that she fired them, she just didn't rehire them. And that was perfectly her right. Okay. That's her call. But the problem became is she obviously didn't have a plan. So she got rid of this whole this vast sea of information, of prosecutorial experience. She gets rid of all these people. Again, she can, but she didn't bring people in to fill that void. And we're still seeing a lot of turnover, a lot of resignations, and this has been a steady stream. Now we're seeing people resigning from her office who she hired. Now they're resigning because the work environment there is toxic, from what I understand. But again, because of this lack of attorneys, lack of experience, there are lots of cases. It's not like crime stopped just because Ms. Rosales took office. The crime still happened. And because she doesn't have the attorneys, these cases are just waiting and screening, waiting in the intake unit, and they're not being screened. And what the public defender has done, Ms. Kelly Childress, she has identified a lot of these cases, hundreds of these cases, and she's saying, look, nothing's been done. We do have a provision, 3201, that says if nothing's going to be done on these cases, and you brought these people in and they're sitting in jail or have certain bond and bail constraints, if you don't file, the case is essentially dismissed, basically inactive for right now. And so that's what she was seeing in her office, Ms. Childress I speak of, and she filed it, these motions to have our clients released. Now these judges, they really have no say in it. I mean, absent the district attorney showing good cause for why it wasn't filed, these cases weren't filed, they're going to be dismissed. And we've seen them since starting 2 weeks ago, and now this week another round of hearings. We're going to be seeing a lot more of these dismissals.
Again, if you're just joining us, guest right now is Omar Carmona, attorney with the CLM law firm and filer of that court petition, court filing for the removal of the district attorney here. And so we've had some updates coming as of even this week in terms of that petition. Again, court filing petition is the phrase we're using here, specifically here, including the assignment of still going to be here in El Paso, but a visiting judge, right?
Yes. So when I filed this petition, it was filed last Wednesday, I think, the 24th. And when you file it in the district clerks, it is randomly assigned to a district bench, a district court, which it was assigned to the 346th. Given that, there are so many, a lot of judges have ties to the DAs, nothing inappropriate, just saying a lot of, they have a lot of cases with the district attorney. It was probably best, in order to maintain that impartiality. I thought it was best that another judge come and hear this case. So the 346 is still the court, but Judge Abels from Kerrville, who's the administrative judge in El Paso, he assigned another judge from Odessa, Judge Tryon Lewis from Odessa, who's a district court judge who has served on the Texas House of Representatives. He will be hearing the case.
Okay, so again, it'll still be moving forward here in the local court, just a judge from outside of this district, essentially.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So as this progresses here, I mean, this is not going to be necessarily a court case as people may be fully expecting it to be here. How will this actually proceed?
Well, so things have to be litigated first. One, this petition, there has to be an application for citation, meaning the judge essentially has to rule whether or not this petition can go forward. That has not been done yet. Okay. And that is going to be happening in the next, upcoming days. But also, Ms. Rosales has retained counsel, and they believe that my petition is basically has defects where it can't proceed. Obviously, I disagree with that, and I think my filing is fine, and I think that we will see my filing move forward. But those things have to be litigated first. Her lawyer filed a special appearance, which means saying that I basically don't have the, I can't file this. I dispute those assertions. I believe I'm fine with the way it's been filed, and I look forward to having this petition litigated in court.
So we got a lot of procedural things to go through before we can even kind of get to, or potentially in the way of getting to, essentially the heart of the issue here, because essentially you are seeking the removal of the district attorney from office. So if that were to, say, be successful, what would happen at that point?
Well, interesting enough, I'm also seeking the temporary removal of her while the case is pending. Okay. And then so there could be another person put in the DA's office. That wouldn't be up to me. And again, this is not some power play for me to become DA one day. I want to share. I have no interest in that office as far as being an employee there. But so that could happen temporarily. But essentially, if ultimately an El Paso jury agrees with me and believes she is incompetent and that she has engaged in official misconduct, the governor would then be responsible for filling that position until the next election, which would be in 2024.
Right. So it would be a filled position as opposed to there being immediately called special election or anything like that. Okay. Again, a guest right now is Omar Carmona, attorney with the CLM law firm. Again, filer of the petition that, again, the court filing that does seek to remove District Attorney Yvonne Rosales, and the trial proceedings on that here. Again, you can see the full document up there, the full 9-page filing there, again, called a petition that you can find over with our news partners at KFOX 14. Just search up any of the names involved in this, either Omar Carmona or Yvonne Rosales, and you can find it there. But of course, we'll be talking more with him after this next break about some of the things going into this, as well as other aspects of it. So stay tuned for more here on Talk El Paso after this break here on News Radio 690 KTSM.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Hello, I'm Erica Castillo with this KFOX 14 News Update. El Paso police have identified the Union Pacific employee killed in last night's train incident and the cause of the incident. 49-year-old Mario Aurelio Navarro was the train conductor killed. Police investigators learned that earlier work was being done on a portion of the track and a derailment device had been installed in order to protect it from oncoming trains. Police say at the time of the crash, the train engineer was given clearance to proceed. However, the derailment device had not been removed. As Navarro was guiding the engineer into the rail yard, the derailment device affected the derailment and Navarro was hit by the train car after it flipped on its side. And the city of El Paso is expected to discuss the current migrant situation this afternoon. Last week, city officials said its Office of Emergency Management partnered with the Opportunity Center for the Homeless due to an increase in migrants passing through, and the city bussed some of them to New York. I'm Erica Castillo with this KFOX 14 News Update.
News Radio 690. Traffic all day.
Gateway eastbound is closed after Reynolds Street road work going on and traffic's being rerouted back onto the I-10 of the Reynolds on-ramp. Watch for a crash on Paisano Drive on-ramp to the I-10 eastbound, causing some delays. I-10 eastbound is slow. Cotton to Geronimo, 5-minute delays. Alabama at Wheeling Avenue, an accident reported. And a crash towards downtown Campbell at Montana. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
After a slight drying trend over the last few days, a change in our weather pattern is bringing scattered rain and storms to much of the area. Expect mostly cloudy skies tonight with with a few lingering showers, which cools overnight lows into the upper 60s by tomorrow morning. Coming up tonight, we'll take a look at our rain prospects for the rest of the week, plus how long these cooler than average temperatures stick around. From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Kira Miner.
This report is sponsored by the Mark Ma Show podcast.
We reached the tipping point this week. Big news regarding global money and energy just came out, and you better get ready. I'm Mark Moss, helping you navigate the decentralized revolution. So listen to the Mark Moss Show on the iHeartRadio app, on Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
On a busy construction site, things can be misinterpreted. Bring in the bulldozer can sound a lot like
Building looks mediocre.
Designs need a do-over.
or even
Install a roller coaster? Okay.
be on the same page at every stage with Autodesk. From the designers to the field crew to the owner of the finished building, Autodesk Construction Cloud gives everyone clarity. Now, can we actually bring in the bulldozer?
The El Paso Community Foundation supports the causes you feel passionate about here in the borderland, whether it's education, social services, arts and culture, the environment, health, or economic development. The El Paso Community Foundation has been promoting philanthropy and progress in our hometown region for more than 45 years. Make your mark with us. Start a fund today. For good, for El Paso, forever. Learn more at epcf.org. That's epcf.org.
Talk El Paso, bringing you the biggest stories from the borderland and beyond, 4 to 6 p.m. every weekday, brought to you in part by Sergio Lewis Body Shop. Call the pros at 915-593-0191. That's Talk El Paso, Monday through Friday at 4, right here on News Radio 690 KTSM.
Do you need new blinds or shades? Blindster.com offers custom-made blinds, shades, and shutters shipped directly to you at prices less than big box retailers. Visit Blindster now through September 8th to save 50% off any order during their Labor Day sale. Blindster.com. This report is sponsored by Blindster.
Text and whatever. Just don't text and drive. Visit StopTextsStopWrecks.org. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
There won't be much substance on your news feed until you add us. Just like us or click on the link at KTSMradio.com. News Radio 690 KTSM El Paso.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Welcome back here to Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media services we're up on these days. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch is where you can find us here. A lot of stuff we're talking about today. I mean, a lot of events that have been going on that affect us here in the borderland. But again, turning now to one of the kind of overarching stories that we've been talking about for several weeks now, and well, technically even beyond that of the district attorney, what has been going on with that office, and more specifically now, more recently anyway, the petition that has now been filed, a court filing anyway, about the removal of the district attorney and what happens with that. So joining us now, we have one of the filers of this petition here, Omar Carmona, attorney with the CLM law firm. Thank you very much for joining us. Welcome back here to Talk El Paso, airing on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on our various social media pages, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, and twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk. We'll also have those phone lines open a little bit later in the segment here. Check back towards the end of it if that's what you're really wanting to get at here. We'll make that announcement. But otherwise, still joining us here in studio, we do have Omar Carmona, attorney with the CLM law firm and filer in part of the petition seeking the removal of District Attorney for El Paso, Ivan Rosales. Thank you very much for sticking around with us here.
Thanks.
Happy to talk with you about these things and delve a little bit more into the situations here. So we're talking a lot about the technical stuff in the first segment there, but let's continue on with some of the reasonings and the things put into it. Again, our news partners over at KFOX 14 have a decent breakdown of some of the major things as opposed to the full 9-page and very technical and legal document that is the original filing here. And we talked a little bit about already the dismissal of criminal cases that, again, what we talked about being sought by the public defender's office. But you also cite some other specific things, including a decline in criminal case filings overall.
Sure. That was one of the things. Yeah, just a decline overall. And again, the crime didn't stop. There's been a steady stream, I can tell you that. But just the fact that she's the way the DA's office has been operating, it's only adding to our COVID backlog. So, I mean, basically, with these cases not being filed, there are so many aspects that the community needs to be mindful of. Obviously, the first aspect from a defense lawyer standpoint, the accused. Basically, life stops for these people. An accusation has been made, serious accusations at that, and jobs are at risk. The schooling, military service is put into question, and the military can start taking steps to chapter individuals out. And so basically, then they also have a lot of constraints. No owning or possessing firearms, no drinking, no using drugs. Not that you should be using drugs, but there are lots of constraints that are put on individuals who are accused of crime. Now let's go to the flip side. And I say this as a lawyer who does a lot of juvenile work, does a lot of work with CPS. Now there are protections for victims of children, victims to include children. And once these cases are thrown out, essentially, those protections, protective orders, you staying away from work, home, school, whatever it is of certain people, those restraints are lifted. And so that makes them even more vulnerable. I don't remember the gentleman's name, but he was speaking to the news from the center.
Center for
Child Protection. It was for children.
I think I know what you're talking about.
The Children's Advocacy Center. And I could tell in his voice he was very concerned about these cases being basically flushed out. And so I think as a community we all need to be very mindful of what's going on in the DA's office.
Okay, and another one you put here specifically, a specific case, the Gabaldon case that came really to a head, and that, again, you were involved with yourself here. That one ended up being dismissed here. Besides some of the factors here, would you say this is kind of one of the inciting incidents leading you to consider this petition?
Absolutely. This was definitely one of the issues, only because now it's become apparent that the district attorney's office essentially sanctioned the conduct that gave rise to that point that I'm making on my petition. So let me get back. I represented Ivan Gabaldon along with Miss Denise Butterworth and Mr. Felix Valenzuela. My office was appointed to represent Mr. Gabaldon on a murder case. He's a U.S. citizen, but lived in Juarez. And I won't get too far into the facts of the case, but the bottom line is, no matter what you feel about Mr. Ivan Gabaldon, he deserved his day in court. Okay, just like any other human being does. Okay, if you're accused of a crime, you get your day in court. And essentially, in the several months leading up to the jury trial, which was pending in the 210th District Court with Judge Alisa Perez, it became very apparent that the district attorney's office was not being responsive. I had been requesting certain evidence from them, just a copy of it, and that was very difficult to. They were very difficult to deal with. There was a lot of evidence that we came to discover that had not been tested by DPS. A lot of forensics hadn't been tested, but we were adamant that we had a self-defense claim. Again, that would have been disputed, I'm sure, by the other side. But bottom line is, we were posturing ourselves to go to court to defend Mr. Gabaldon from these accusations. Leading up to court, Mr. Curtis Cox, who is, my understanding, the third in command there at the DA's office, he gets the case. And he basically conceded, Your Honor, the defense is correct. Essentially, nothing was done on this case. We've had the case for several months, but nothing was done. I made a point to list all the attorneys I had dealt with leading up to that day in court. And I mean, I at some point, I think I had dealt with 10 different lawyers from the DA's office on that one case. And that's no way to prepare a case. So Mr. Cox admitted that I'm not ready. We're asking for a continuance. Judge, obviously, like any district judge, was concerned. Hey, I set this date a long time ago. Now you're telling me you're not ready. That's not good enough. I, as a defense lawyer, have to say, well, Judge, he's in jail. So if we're going to postpone, I have to ask for his release, which is a very reasonable request if we're talking about more delay. I agree with Judge Bettis. We should, the state should not have put her in that position where I have to let someone out with ties to Mexico on a serious charge like a murder charge because you're not ready. So what Judge Bettis essentially did is said, no, we are going to go to trial on the date we have set. At that moment, when Mr. Cox realizes that, hey, I'm not going to get the continuance I need, he says, well, if we don't postpone this case, I will review this case again and I would consider the death penalty. But understand the concern here is he's admitting he hasn't reviewed the entire file. Okay. Which why he'd be announcing on a case if he hasn't even reviewed the whole file. But now he's saying without even reviewing the entire file and without being ready on the case, I am now going to seek the highest punishment in American jurisprudence, which is the death penalty. Clearly, it was retaliatory for us not agreeing to his continuance. And you can't go from, Judge, I will agree to letting this individual out for free. Oh, that didn't work? Well, then I'm going to kill him. Okay. And the thing is, I say that because he made good on that threat and he eventually dismissed the murder case and refiled it as a capital murder. And then he filed his intent to seek the death penalty. So you can't go from, I believe that this individual will conform to certain terms and conditions of a free reconnaissance bond. But now I will seek the death penalty because he is such a danger to society. The safety of the community requires he be put to death. We're talking about two extremes that cannot coexist. Okay, that letting someone out for free or the death penalty. And myself and Ms. Butterworth and Mr. Valenzuela, we filed a motion to dismiss that capital murder indictment. So now it's the second indictment. Dismiss that capital murder indictment on the grounds that Mr. Cox had engaged in prosecutorial vindictiveness. We had a hearing. I hope that the listeners can pull that up on YouTube. It's on YouTube, and you can clearly see how desperate Mr. Cox was. But essentially, Judge Bettis, and I'm sure it couldn't be an easy ruling, but she did agree that he did engage in prosecutorial vindictiveness and had to dismiss the case.
Because as much as there is supposed to be, the seeking of justice and, metering out of it and, doing that in the court of law here, it has to be done in an even fashion is essentially your contention here as, again, part of this filing particularly.
Right.
Again, if you're just joining us, guest right now is Omar Carmona, attorney with the CLM law firm. Again, talking about the court filing, the court petition that he has filed in parts to seek the removal of the district attorney for El Paso, Yvonne Rosales. Again, you can find more on the coverage here from our news partners over there at KFOX 14 here. And there's a couple other finer points that we've discussed previously, such as, again, misuse of public funds here. As there was some like a Texas Ethics Commission review of again Ms. Rosales' use of official funds, particularly, I believe it was a branding and a logo kind of circumstance there. We've talked about that previously, but in general, of course, the district attorney herself has responded by a statement saying, in quote, the petition that has been filed to remove district attorney Yvonne Rosales has been initiated merely as a political tactic. We believe that it is a frivolous attempt by an attorney who has been actively attacking the administration for many months now in regard to a case which is pending on appeal. So how do you respond to, and of course, we do have more of the full statement again with our news partner there, but how do you respond to that and that response, therefore, from the district attorney?
Well, I have to address the statements that have come out from Ms. Rosales saying that this is a political stunt. I could see that if I wanted her job or if I wanted somebody, I had someone in mind to get. I don't have anyone in mind to get this job. I just want someone who can do this job better than she can, because it's someone better is what El Paso deserves. But to say that I have been outspoken, because after engaging in prosecutorial vindictiveness that we talked about with Mr. Cox, he's still employed there. And so the concern I have now, going back to that Gabaldon case, either Mr. Cox's use of the death penalty was sanctioned in a retaliatory way by Mr. Rosales, or she didn't know this was going on, and we have a rogue prosecutor who feels comfortable enough to make this decision when she, Ms. Rosales, is the elected district attorney in El Paso. So it's one of those two things. But again, I have been outspoken about it. But no, and I've also heard that, this is an attack on, because she's a woman, the first elected Latina district attorney in El Paso. That is, I find that so offensive. My mom was a single mom, put me through law school, and she never pulled. Well, this is, she worked hard, and she never pulled the, I'm down because, I'm a woman, and a lot of hardworking women, judges, other lawyers, and other professions too. They should be offended that she would always pull the woman card because she is being criticized, and that's unreasonable. The reason I did this is because El Paso deserves better. We have been through a lot as a community, and so that's why I filed this petition.
And then other ways this has even been talked about here outside of the official response from the district attorney's office here. So essentially that there's been smacking in some people's minds of this being sour grapes, that you've had a bad experience with the district attorney's office or a specific attorney there, and this is you responding back to it or trying to get back to them. How do you respond to kind of that thing that's been put out there and some of these community discussions I've heard?
If there's individuals that want to say, it's just me that feels this way, that's fine. I mean, there's nothing I can do to change their minds about that. I'm just saying from where I'm standing, I've seen the erosion of the district attorney's office, where El Paso, we've been considered the safest, city for a long time. And the fact that the district attorney's office used to be something as a beacon for prosecution in Texas. The way what Mr. Esparza did under border prosecution, what he did with his initiatives with DWIs and family violence, and he had one of the top homicide units in the state. And fine, if you want to question my motives, but again, I'm doing this for El Paso, and I believe that it is in this community's best interest for a change to be made at the DA's office.
Again, a guest right now has been Omar Carmona, attorney with the CLM law firm, and again, filer of the court-filed petition there for the removal of the district attorney. We'll, of course, be talking more about this in the days and weeks to come here as this progresses here. But in the meantime, again, Mr. Carmona, thank you very much for taking the time to speak with us about this and break down some of the issues as you see them here today.
Sure. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely happy to have you on here. We got to take that next break right now. So coming out of this break, we will open up those phone lines as we do at this point during the program. So if you wanted to call in, add your 2 cents that way, that number to call is 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. Take more of those and the comments after this break here with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
I-10 eastbound between Cotton and Geronimo, slow traffic with 7-minute delays. Gateway East is still closed. All lanes eastbound on Gateway Boulevard after Reynolds. Due to road work, traffic's being rerouted back to the I-10 through the Reynolds on-ramp. And there's a crash Geronimo Drive north of Trowbridge at Taos. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by The Truth with Lisa Booth podcast.
Does it feel like liberty in America is slipping away as the government grows even more powerful? Who better to turn to than Ron Paul for answers? Make sure to listen to The Truth with Lisa Booth every Monday and Thursday and throughout the week on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
This is Cecilia Abbott. Greg Abbott is my husband and our governor. Greg and I met at the University of Texas. We married soon after. I came to know what Greg Abbott was really made of when I saw how he responded to his accident. At just 26, a massive tree fell on him, paralyzing Greg for life. His recovery took months, but Greg never gave up. He often says challenges don't define our lives. Instead, it's how we respond to those challenges that defines us. Greg and I have known triumph as well. The joys of our marriage and adopting our daughter Audrey have shown me the depths of his love and commitment. Greg and Audrey have a great relationship. He's taught her how to deal with the trials of life. Hard work, perseverance, and family. Those values define Greg Abbott, and they guide him every day as governor of Texas.
Political ad paid for by Texans for Greg Abbott.
If you served in the Marine Corps, by now you know about the contaminated water problem at Camp Lejeune. If you were stationed or worked at Camp Lejeune from 1953 to 1987, you probably have a lot of questions. We have some answers. You could be entitled to compensation. Billions of dollars are being allocated to pay for damages to anyone stationed at Camp Lejeune during that time. Unfortunately, it appears that officials may have known the contaminated water problem existed and did little to protect their men. The Semper Fi code was not honored. If you or someone in your family has developed a serious illness, including various forms of cancer, call this Camp Lejeune legal support line right now. You can't turn back the clock and change what happened, but you can certainly call right now and learn your rights as a Marine. Here's the number.
Call 800-236-8989. 800-236-8989. That's 800-236-8989. Paid for by Legal Alert Line.
Tune in to the El Paso History Radio Show this Saturday, 10 to noon, here on 690 AM with your host, Andrew J. Polk, brought to you in part by Pepe's New Mexican Restaurant and Cantina, 6761 Donovan Drive. That's the El Paso History Radio Show, 10 a.m. Saturday, right here on News Radio 690 KTSM.
Do you need new blinds or shades? Blindster.com offers custom-made blinds, shades, and shutters shipped directly to you at prices less than big box retailers. Visit Blindster now through September 8th to save 50% off any order during their Labor Day sale. Blindster.com.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or over on our various social media pages. A lot of ways to interact with the show, particularly since we do have that phone line up right now. That number to call is, of course, 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. And thanks again to our guest from this hour, defense attorney Omar Carmona, again, who has filed that legal petition, again, not the kind that you can sign, just to make sure that's clear here, because we've talked about a lot of petitions lately, but in any case, filing that for seeking the removal of the district attorney for El Paso, Yvonne Rosales. And of course, we discussed a little bit there, but of course, the district attorney has responded, calling the petition and the effort to remove her as also not legally founded, among other things, seeking for that to be removed here. El Paso Matters with some reporting on that as well, with the DA Yvonne Rosales seeks dismissal petition to remove her from office. So there's a lot of things still pending in a whole lot of those circumstances here. And so we'll continue our discussion about that here as we see more things come up here. And just as a very important note, we, of course, reached out to the district attorney's office in order to speak further with them about this issue, so you can get a response to these kind of things. Hopefully get them on the show, anyone from the office or the district attorney herself here to discuss these or what next steps may be. And certainly we'll get back with them that have not had a response as of yet, reached out yesterday to them. So if we get anything further back on that, we will certainly let y'all know, because these kind of discussions are difficult, but certainly important there, and we will stay on top of it as much as possible. Keep working, trying to bring you the latest on that there. But of course, not even the only things that we have going on here in the area today, among other things and other kind of large and long ranging issues here. There's been, of course, John Browson brought up a little bit earlier, not quite germane to this. We've been popping up the comments throughout here. So we have commenting over on the social media, Kathy Codry, RJ, Flaco Jimenez, Maria Coleman, John Brazelting, Eric from Holstein Rathlow, and Shad Gardner and Ida Beza Gardner a little bit earlier, and dropping those likes and reacts. We appreciate Ida Beza Gardner and Flaco Jimenez. One of the things that John Brazelton brought up here, you can tell it's re-election time in El Paso. Escobar, referring there to, I believe, El Paso Congresswoman Veronica Escobar, was at UTEP today for a grand opening of an aerospace manufacturing building. UTEP got $80 million from various sources to build it here. Saw some of it there, of course, and some of the actual drawings of it are available over with our news partners there at KFox 14. The actual, what should look like anyway is up over there if you want to see it there. And interesting, very much in the UTEP style, the Bhutanese and Nepalese style there. So yeah, that groundbreaking happening here, and it'll take about 2 years for that facility to be in use here. And the chancellor and the Texas regents for the University of Texas system did provide $80 million for the funding of the project here. So I mean, that goes into some other longer conversations we've even had on those points there, including with UTEP President Heather Wilson when it comes to some of the longer ranging plans and how essentially the reason is both the host of and plans to capitalize on and continue on and investing in or hoping and reaping the rewards from what has come out of the local space race with the, I guess you can call it the very rich, if not billionaires on either side of us launching things into space or hoping so here. But more commentary coming in on some of our stories of the day there as well. RJ saying the conduct and lack of professionalism is shocking. The crew at the DAs is a disgrace here. And Kathy Codry saying DAs using gaslighting tactics. But RJ also saying 5-1 you get results. She's an MVP dodgeball champion. I guess I haven't had that much experience with her, but well, we do have a little bit that we can go into, because if you want to see what she said during the election, because of course we did interviews with both of the candidates at that point in time here, so we want to go back, see if we can find the link and post it up for you all to see the interview that we did with Yvonne Rosales before she was elected on what our major priorities would be for office here. But Maria Coleman also commenting here saying, I doubt this was not known by other officials, court personnel noticing that the docket was sparse, her attempting to plead her gender can be interpreted that she has no defense here. Again, we have reached out to the district attorney's office and hope to hear back and hopefully get her take on this, or at least someone from the office there before too long, because presenting the full conversation there is very important to us here. But we're going to go ahead and take that next break of the hour here right now. Again, we do have that phone line open if you want to add your 2 cents that way. Again, that number to call is 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. In any case, a lot more to talk about in the next hour of the program, including the UMC tax rate, keeping it no new revenue. But of course, we got some other very big things pending when it comes to the taxes that will truly come from that part of your county tax bill. So stay tuned. More Talk El Paso after this break with more here on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. That number again, 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. Back in a minute. Don't go anywhere. What's after the top of the hour news. See you then.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
Northbound traffic is slowing from a crash at Gateway North at Altura Avenue. Gateway eastbound at Reynolds just after Reynolds Street is closed. Due to road work, traffic's being rerouted back onto the I-10 at the Reynolds on-ramp. 6-minute delays and slow traffic I-10 eastbound between Dallas and Trowbridge. And police on the scene of a crash downtown Stanton at 4th Avenue. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio.
News on the hour and a half. Traffic and weather all day. News Radio 690 is KTSM AM El Paso, an iHeart radio station.
NBC News Radio, I'm Brian Shook. Reports say former Soviet leader Mikhail Gorbachev is dead at the age of 91. Terry Moore reports the cause of death is unknown.
Gorbachev was the 8th and last leader of the Soviet Union and was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 1990 for bringing the Cold War to a peaceful end. He helped take down the long-standing Iron Curtain, separating Eastern communist states and Western non-communist states. The Berlin Wall was part of the physical barrier that separated the East and West. Gorbachev's efforts to democratize his country's political system led to the downfall of communism in Europe and the breakup of the Soviet Union in 1991.
More interest rate hikes are likely coming until inflation is under control. That's the message New York Federal Reserve President John Williams delivered while speaking to the Wall Street Journal. The Fed has been aggressively raising rates over the past few months in order to tame inflation. Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell warned last week that bringing down inflation will be painful. President Biden is promoting increased funding for law enforcement.
When it comes to public safety in this nation, the answer is not defund the police, it's fund the police.
Speaking in Pennsylvania, President Biden said the solution to violent crime doesn't involve defunding the police. The relative who accused 1996 World Series MVP John Wetland of sex abuse is testifying in his North Texas trial. The man told a Denton County court the abuse happened in 2004 and 2006 and caused mental health and physical issues. The man was 4 when the alleged actions happened. Wetland won a World Series with the New York Yankees. It's another down day on Wall Street. Stocks extended losses. At the closing bell, the Dow Jones lost 308 points to 31,790. You're listening to the latest from NBC News Radio. New York City continues to try and find housing for asylum seekers as more keep arriving by bus from Texas. Scott Pringle reports.
Another location opened last night on the Upper West Side to place these asylum seekers, and the city now has contracts with 15 hotels to provide shelter for the migrants and other homeless individuals. Mayor Eric Adams says there's no sign of a slowdown in the surge of migrants who have been coming from Texas since May.
The numbers are coming in at an increasing pace. We have close to 7,600 asylum seekers that have gone through our shelter.
A lawyer for Jalen Walker's family says the city of Akron, Ohio continues to humiliate and insult supporters. Bobby DiCello says despite following the rules, supporters and protesters of the police shooting death keep being mistreated. DiCello said Akron officials aren't communicating with them. He urged the media to ask city officials and police why they're not talking. It's been 1 year since the last U.S. military flight left Afghanistan. Rory O'Neill reports.
The U.S. military's final departure came just days after the then president of Afghanistan, his wife, and senior aides all fled the country as the Taliban took over. It also followed an attack at the Kabul airport that killed 13 U.S. service members. The withdrawal brought an end to almost 20 years of American military involvement in Afghanistan, which began in response to the September 11th terror attacks.
Actor Jeff Garland's character on the hit sitcom The Goldbergs is being killed off for its upcoming 10th season. Garland left the show late last year after a number of misconduct allegations were made against him. Entertainment Weekly reports the new season will pick up a few months after the off-screen death of Garland's character. Season 10 of The Goldbergs debuts on September 21st. Brian Shook, NBC News Radio.
Now your chance at $1,000 and a trip to our 2022 iHeartRadio Music Festival. Text the nationwide keyword Vegas to 200-200. You'll get a confirmation text and info. Standard data and message rates apply in this nationwide contest. That's Vegas to 200-200.
Keep listening for the next chance to win your way to our iHeartRadio Music Festival, September 23rd and 24th at T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. Tickets are on sale right now. AXS.com.
Stream it free on the CW app and CWTV.com.
iHeart and Capital One created a free iHeartRadio Music Festival NFT dropping September 19th for 72 hours. Capital One cardholders can get a special NFT unlocking a chance for a trip to next year's festival. Visit iHeartRadio.com/Capital One NFT for rules and details.
This report is sponsored by Lowe's. Shop Labor Day savings at Lowe's. Eagle leaf blowers start at $199, are battery powered and provide optimal performance. Plus, save $50 on a Charbroil Performance Series 4-burner gas grill, now $299. Grill offer valid through 9/7 while supplies last.
New on Curiosity Stream. After 50 years,
One small step for man.
We're going back with NASA's Artemis program. We're sending humans to the moon and beyond on Artemis Return to the Moon. Plus, they're impassioned, they're inventive, they're teenagers.
Oh my God.
New research suggests our impulsive teen years may be key to humanity's success on surviving the teenage brain. Watch now on Curiosity Stream. Annual plans are $20, just $1.67 a month. Visit curiositystream.com.
No Hollywood release can match it.
It's worth the wait. Who complains?
No television drama can equal it.
That was the scariest episode of your show.
And nothing else comes close to the drama.
This is unbelievable.
And you know what? Quite frankly, this scares people.
Join the conversation. We have seen this movie before. We know that it doesn't end well.
Stay informed with El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM. News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in to Hour 2 of the show here, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or over on the various social media pages we're up on these days. If you're tuning with us live, you're more than welcome to, of course, comment, and we'll put up some of those comments here. We're doing so through the interviews today as well. Plus, we have that phone line open. Again, that number to call, again, with your live audience here, 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. And, well, actually, the phone lines are full up at the moment here, but if you want to squeeze in a little bit later, we'll be doing most of those here throughout the rest of the hour, getting to all that we can. We never quite get to everything, but we do our level best. But one thing I wanted to make sure we brought up here, if only because I put it in the announcement post here, that, again, from our news partners at KFOX 14, El Paso County Commissioners approve UMC property tax rate decrease. Now, there has been a lot of complicated factors when it comes to taxes, tax rates, property valuations, all of this here. So very similarly to what the county budget was passed as of last year, the whole no new revenue rate has been passed for, again, the El Paso County Commissioners Court voting for the County Hospital District, better and more commonly known as UMC, University Medical Center. So they have set that now at the, well, not exactly the same rate. It is a 9% decrease over last year, now down at $0.235 per $100 evaluation, better known as 23.5 cents, I guess I should say. But it is a 9% tax decrease, but of course is very much offset by the average increase in property valuation. So again, the no new revenue rate means, from this aspect anyway, and for this part of that budget, you will not be seeing an increase. Now, you may be asking, what's going on about this whole certificate of obligation thing we've been talking about? We do have plans to talk with UMC about this a little bit later in the week here, but that would be something paid out of essentially a different tax rate here, because we talk about some different parts of it here, because I mean, we got both the maintenance and operations, and then essentially debt payments, and this would fall more and closer to around that here. So I mean, technically a lowering of taxes, but stay tuned, I guess, is the best way to put it here, as we've got some more decisions coming up. I mean, we're almost at the end of the month here, pretty much, and some more decisions and discussions coming up by the middle of next month. So stay tuned for that here. Otherwise, some more comments coming in and things coming in over on the social media. Again, chiming in, we have RJ, Maria Coleman, Kathy Codry, Flaco Jimenez. A little bit earlier, John Brazelton, Eric von Holstein-Rathlow, Sean Gardner, Ida Beza-Gardner. Dropping those likes and reacts, we do appreciate. Robbie Flores, Monica Cervantes, Ida Beza-Gardner, and Flaco Jimenez. Again, if you like to do that, we appreciate it because it helps with all the algorithmic things. But otherwise, get that phone number to call if you want to squeeze in here a little bit later, as they're full up at the moment, 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. We do have James over in Central on the line with us here right now. James, thanks for joining us.
Hey there, Andrew.
Hey there, James. What's on your mind?
I was just wondering. Yeah, well, I was just wondering what your thoughts are on the Franklin High School teacher that was caught on video yesterday saying that we shouldn't judge people that want to have sex with 5-year-olds. I'm just, wondering why an English teacher is trying to normalize pedophilia. It's disgusting. And is that where we are today? Your thoughts?
So, I mean, thank you for the point on that one. Of course, our news partners, if you want to hear it for yourself here, do have it over on KFOX TV.com rather, and it's the camera seems to be pointed at the ground or at not actually showing people in the frame here, but you can hear the audio, and I'll just read directly what, again, our news partners have transcripted there, saying that it's the teacher's voice. The teacher is heard saying, quote, "Stop calling them that. You're not allowed to label people like that. Stop it, Diego. We are not going to call them that. We're going to call them MAPS, minor attracted persons, So don't judge people just because they want to have sex with a 5-year-old, end quote here. And that's about 18 seconds of video in total here. And I'll agree with you on its face. That sounds very shocking. Yes, we haven't really talked about it on this program here much, but the whole redefinition attempts of from essentially pedophilia to minor attracted persons, or MAPs, MAPs, has been something I'm very aware of and have a certain level of concern. But for this specific story here, our news partners go on to say that they spoke with a student in the classroom and says that this clip, being about 18 seconds, wasn't the full context here. I'm going to quote even further. So he's saying, the student quoted here saying, she, teacher, was expressing how it was ridiculous how we, society, might not be able to call people pedophiles, that we, society, will probably have to start calling them MAPs because it can be offensive to them, pedophiles. The class agreed here. So for the most part here, what is also being said by the district is that they are investigating this, but they are not going to be commenting any further anytime we deal with personnel issues. And I've had this response to me in other situations, so I'm not surprised here that they're saying they will not be commenting on it. No further information will be shared at this time here. But that is, again, what our news partners are reporting there, because, again, the clip on its face value, I will agree, is a little bit Whiskey Tango Foxtrot. But with a fuller context, this is why I think I was a little bit dubious of the clip itself here, because anytime it's a short little clip of video, I mean, heck, you could do that from this show probably and say that, what's this guy talking about, without me saying that, and that's why this is ridiculous if you cut it right before that. So would love to see more on it before I jump to it. But to your overall concern, anyone truly advocating for that, I have, let's just say, some serious disagreements with.
Yeah, I guess I'm just wondering why we're having this discussion in an English class to begin with.
Fair enough. I mean, that's a pretty reasonable question to be asked. And so they do say they're investigating. I'll caution this based on my past experience with not exactly this situation, but anything similar to it. And again, involving personnel issues, we may or may not actually get a good answer on what exactly happened in the situation. But I'm hoping that maybe overall we can get maybe some answers a little bit later from, say, the school board about, okay, what are standards, what are discussions to be done on this factor, or at the very least, can we make a very clear statement of purpose and facts for what the district's, how it stands on this. So, yeah. So, yeah, I appreciate the point in the call. Any other points you wanted to make there?
Nope. I just wanted to thank you for what you're doing, Andrew. I appreciate you listening to you every day.
I appreciate it very much. You have a good one there.
You too.
All right. And again, that number to call if you want to get on the line is 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Flaco Jimenez saying, yeah, hopefully that was said with full sarcasm. As a known sarcastic person myself here, that's why I kind of like anytime I see a short little clip of video, I'm often like, okay, that may seem damning in a way, but I'm always interested in full context. I mean, you may have slightly gotten that inclination for me of the way I like to see full investigations or anything. Maria Coleman asking, the teacher remains innocent of wrongdoing until there's a full investigation. So I would support that full investigation. Absolutely. Eric von Holstein Rathlow saying, changing the word pedophile to MAP is an effort to destigmatize and normalize pedophilia. Yeah, I don't disagree with you on that point, and why, again, I find myself disagreeing with the general use of that term. Let me make a further point here on that. I fully support people that have a mental illness seeking treatment, being dealt with it, and maybe to a certain extent not being stigmatized for having it. But this specific effort of trying to reframe it, essentially, yeah, that's not going to fly for me here. And some more comments, such as a Kathy Codry on that here. And Ion Grimm saying a little bit earlier as well, be careful of what you accuse someone of. You don't have all the facts. Even students are denying what was put out as out of context. Don't destroy someone's life without having the facts. Next time it could be you. See, that's why I kind of, again, grain of salt with some of these kind of things here. So, but yeah, I'm in a lot more comments coming in on that here. And Eric saying, for one, don't care if someone gets offended being called a pedophile here. Might as well come up with a non-offensive acronym for rapist, because calling them a rapist might hurt their feelings. Again, there's some definite emotions and feelings I have about the whole effort, but this specific case here, again, some of the response coming out from, again, our news partners that are reporting to a student in the classroom there, makes me want to see a lot further and see hopefully we can learn something that comes out of that investigation, but I'm not exactly going to hold my breath about it in this case, just based on past experience here. Let's go ahead and take that next break right now, and we'll get to more of those calls from the line here. Again, if you're wanting to call in on the show, the number to do so is 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
All eastbound lanes on Gateway East are closed after Reynolds Street due to road work. Traffic's being rerouted back onto the I-10 at the Reynolds on-ramp. Gateway North, northbound at El Toro Avenue, an injury accident. Look for slow traffic on the 10 eastbound between Dallas downtown and Trowbridge with 8-minute delays. And an injury accident southbound George Dieter north of Pebble Hills at Sundance Avenue. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by The Truth with Lisa Booth podcast.
Does it feel like liberty in America is slipping away as the government grows even more powerful? Who better to turn to than Ron Paul for answers? Make sure to listen to The Truth with Lisa Booth every Monday and Thursday and throughout the week on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
A construction site is a noisy place where things can be misinterpreted. We need to redo the drywall. It can sound a lot like,
rewire the hole?
They're firing Paul?
Wait, what did I do? Or even,
Install a waterfall. Whose dumb idea was this?
be on the same page at every stage with Autodesk, from the designers to the field crew to the owner of the finished building. Autodesk Construction Cloud gives everyone clarity. Now, how about that drywall?
Maybe you've had to put off a health appointment or two during the COVID-19 pandemic, but if you're 45 or older, there's one test you shouldn't put off any longer. That's your regular screening for colorectal cancer. Colorectal cancer is the leading cancer killer, but can be prevented with regular screenings starting at age 45. There are more screening options than ever before, including at-home tests. It takes guts to put your health first. Ask your doctor about your options today and visit cdc.gov/screenforlife for more information.
Explore Banana Republic Factory now and enjoy 50% off everything, from heritage classics to new arrivals for the season. Discover essential styles from $24.99. Find your nearest store or shop online, only at Banana Republic Factory.
Do you think it's okay to drive stoned? The truth is your reaction times slow way down when you're high. You not only put yourself in danger, but everyone around you. Stop kidding yourself. If you've been using marijuana in any form, do not get behind the wheel. If you feel different, you drive different. Drive high, get a DUI. Paid for by NHTSA.
Explore Banana Republic Factory now and enjoy 50% off everything, from heritage classics to new arrivals for the season. Discover essential styles from $24.99. Find your nearest store or shop online, only at Banana Republic Factory.
It can happen easily. A few drinks become a few too many. It's time to go, and you think of calling for a ride home. Now, what's the worst that can happen? You get pulled over, you lose your license, you total your car, you kill someone. Drive sober or get pulled over. Paid for by NHTSA.
Always just minutes away from the latest news around town and around the world.
It's important to know what's going on, especially around the world.
News Radio 690 KTSM.
News Radio 690 KTSM El Paso.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I am your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or over on our various social media pages, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch.tv, either under Andrew J. Polk or Talk El Paso. Pretty much all those platforms here, and you can leave your comments through pretty much all of those. I mean, Twitter's more of a DM response kind of thing, so we can't pop that one up on screen, but just about everything else, you're pretty well logged in and able to add your 2 cents. Plus, of course, that phone line. If you really want to add your 2 cents that way, that number to do so is 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. And just as RJ providing a good example of and why I will continue to defend the ability to be sarcastic, RJ saying, next, murderers are life removal decision persons. I think you should have added one more letter there to make it a better acronym here. But yes, I mean, anything where we're trying to say, well, it's not that bad because of changing the name. Like, sure, anytime we're talking and arguing semantics, it's like the lowest form of debate. But still, words have meanings and power here. So, yeah, very much not on board with the whole map conversation. And no, I'm not talking about something you use to give directions. I'm talking about that whole minor attracted persons. Yeah, nah, you can miss me right with that stuff there. But otherwise, the whole local situation, the reason we were talking about that, again, you can check out the story from our news partners there at KFOX 14, where they have some more stuff up on that here, but also a couple of the other big stories going on in the area here, including what's going on with the cleanup from that derailing here. Serious situations there, but also I've been doing some more of the coverage of what's going on with the increase in migrants in our area. A news conference held not too long before our show here, so hopefully I'll have a little bit more up on that for you here. Know what the actual plan is there. But in any case, phone lines open 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. And so expect those phone lines here right now. We do have Jerry in the Northwest on the line with us here right now. Jerry, thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you, Andrew, for taking my call.
Mm-hmm.
First, I want to thank Mr. Cardona for coming on and explaining his view, and I do support his actions. Okay, because apparently what we have is a DA that's got a catch and release program going on, and also she's being soft on crime. Now, this is exactly where people don't understand things about being soft on crime. This is an exact situation of that. She's not able to handle the situation of being the DA. Immaturity, I think, is one part of it, and an ego is part of the next part of it. But I'm glad he's exercising his First Amendment rights to petition the government for redress of grievances. Thank you, Mr. Cardona. And I have a question for you.
Sure.
I don't know if you've heard this, but I've heard this on Channel 7, KVIA, I believe. They have a thing called Extra.
Yes.
Sunday nights. Then they also had a report yesterday by Miss Stephanie, the main announcer or whatever, newscaster. And it seems that the DA is going to have people look into Mr. Cardona and try to bring down his thing because of political action. She's calling it a political tactic, and she's going to assign people from her office to look into that. Is that not an offense on his First Amendment rights? You know, and is that not also a abuse of power on her part?
I mean, okay, so as we're looking at the evolution of the situation, anytime we have an elected official, I mean, of course, she has the right to respond to the filing that is put against her in court and, you know, go through that legal process on her own here. But anything kind of outside of that, outside of, say, maybe dealing with the core issues here, because let's also be honest, this is not the first time we have talked about concerns involving the DA's office under this new administration of it here. So if I was in that situation, that would be my primary focus. But again, we have asked the DA's office to speak further with them, and hopefully the district attorney herself here, pending the response on that here. So failing having her immediate perspective on this, I will say this is kind of a boilerplate outside of any specific situation. Retaliation would be a bad thing. And probably
that's what I'm trying to get at. That's exactly what I'm trying to get at. She's from what the KVIA put out on the Extra thing Sunday night, 10:30, and what Miss Stephanie said yesterday on Channel 7. It seems to me that the DA is going to use her power and the power of her having extra or having attorneys assigned to her to look at this guy and try to bring him down because he's doing a political response to this. And that's exactly wrong. There's a Supreme Court case back in 1963 that says you're supposed to, as an elected official or an official that's appointed to the government, you're supposed to take the hits. You're supposed to stand and say, if they call you a dummy in front of everybody else, you're not supposed to retaliate.
Yep, it's very much the fact that people in the public sphere like that, particularly elected ones, are definitely much more susceptible, proving things like actual slander or things like that for someone in office, because if you say you feel they're doing a bad job, is more protected than it would be to say, you shouting at someone on the street corner. Absolutely.
Okay, so is she overpressing her authority and her use of the attorneys that have had her case, that are on her employment to investigate Mr. Cardona because he's trying to correct a problem that he sees?
I mean, we'll see what the actual, I know we've got some of the rumors out there and the possibilities here, and at least someone else in the comments has expected that there might be some retaliation. Let me just say this, in discussions with Mr. Carmona there, and the fact that he is a, defense attorney in town, trying to like bury someone that's already a lawyer in like legal paperwork, it doesn't usually seem to work out here. So if it's truly going to be a file versus filing and legal harassing kind of situation like you're suggesting there, I would fully expect that it would be much better served by maybe dealing with some of the core issues that people in the community have had, and much to what Mr. Carmona said about if this is only him concerned about it, so be it. He's still going to move forward. From what I've seen, including some of our local elected officials, this is not an isolated concern that he alone has.
No, I've seen it to where there's other lawyers. I've read up on it where there's other lawyers. Even Joe Moody was concerned about it. Our senator that represents us in the state level.
Correct.
He's concerned about it. May I bring something else up?
Yeah, sure, briefly
as
if you
far
can.
as this new sexual thing that they got going on in the schools. Parents, if you're concerned about what the teachers are teaching your children, I want you to go. Please write this down. Texas Penal Code, Title 9, Offenses Against Public Order and Decency, Section 43.22, 20 and 23, Subchapter B, Honor Obscenities. So,
okay,
the Title 9 Texas has a penal code under Title 9, Offenses Against Public Order and Decency, Section 43.22 and 23, Subchapter B, Obscenity. So that gives you something to fight back with, parents. Run with it. Thank you, Andrew.
Yeah, thanks for the
time.
Thanks for the point in the call. You have a good one there. I'll say this here. If you truly want to fully support anyone being more involved in their child's education here, but what I'll say is this. If there comes a circumstance where you have an issue with a particular teacher, with the way they're doing something or their specific conduct, that is one thing. But some of the cases, at least the situations that you end up seeing online a lot, end up being more like district policy, those kind of things. And I'm just going to say this for the sake of the very hardworking teachers that I've known in my life and that I've very much benefited from in my life. Take those up with the appropriate authorities, being mostly the school board, the ones setting the standards. Because saying that, well, you can't teach this otherwise district standard to my child here, the teacher often does not have control over that. So just make sure you're putting it in the right place is all I'm really kind of couching there. So we got time for at least one more call on the line here. Again, the number to call if you want to get on the line is 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. We do have Raul in the Northeast on the line here with us right now. Raul, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Andrew. President Biden criticized MAGA Republicans today as he campaigned for Democrats in Pennsylvania, criticizing Trumppublicans for their response to the MAGA logo search and Trump's coup and mob's attack on the Capitol on January 6th. In fact, President Biden said, let me say this to my MAGA Republican friends in Congress. Don't tell me you support law enforcement if you won't condemn what happened on January 6th. You can't claim to be pro-law enforcement and be pro-insurrection. Biden also said it's sickening to see the new attacks on the FBI, threatening the lives of law enforcement agents and their families for simply carrying out the law and doing their job. Now, previously, Biden called out the MAGA philosophy, saying it's like semi-fascism. So what was Trump, the failed Fuhrer, doing today? Well, malicious, malevolent, mendacious, traitorous moron Trump spent his morning posting inflammatory messages on his Truth social media account, including many promoting the QAnon conspiracy theory. Trump in the past has promoted this low QAnon inspired accounts and theories. And I know a QAnon nut myself. They're Trumpy as hell. They claim that Speaker Pelosi hired the FBI to carry out the attack on the Capitol with hired Antifa and BLM crisis actors. And they believe that Trump will be reinstated and that very soon with this thing called the big reveal or the Trump card, which is supposed to bring down the deep state. And in one Trump post, he reposted the QAnon slogan, where we go one, we go all. You know, that sounds so stupid. That QAnon conspiracy theory was built around this guy named Q, this anonymous account who posts periodically on Acon.
I'm aware of the whole QAnon thing and the fact that the guy posts his Q, but it's also an intimation towards the security level that comes from it, and therefore is part of it. And yeah, it's kind of a conspiracy theory Mad Libs in that, sure, there are the specific things, the breadcrumbs, etc., but there's a lot of people that just kind of color in with their own things on it here. So I usually don't find much purpose in really discussing it here until we start looking at any effects coming from it here, because we had not too long ago people decamping to Dallas because of some theory involving JFK returning here. So if you really want to delve into it, you're more than welcome to, but that's something we terribly spend a lot of time here on this show. But let me just say this: as much as President Biden talking nationally today on his campaign trail, kind of corollary to what John said about election season, definitely here, of course, the president isn't literally on the ballot, but his policies and the sentiment towards his party absolutely is. So, it was also an interesting thing about don't defund the police, fund the police, which it'll be very interesting to see how even his erstwhile base will receive that. They're talking about Biden here, but otherwise, again, much as I truly and deeply appreciate a good review of the merits and morals of the previous president here, we're not quite in Friday territory there, so appreciate the call for what it is anyway, even if I disagree with some finer points on it. You have a good one there. That's going to take us through that next break right now. Coming out of this break, we will talk more about some of the local situations as we try to talk about what affects us here locally as much as possible anyway. So stay tuned. More Talk El Paso after this break. Get the number to get on the line if you want to, 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Hello, I'm Erica Castillo with this KFOX 14 News Update. El Paso police have identified the Union Pacific employee killed in last night's train incident and the cause of the incident. 49-year-old Mario Aurelio Navarro was the train conductor killed. Police investigators learned that earlier work was being done on a portion of the track and a derailment device had been installed in order to protect it from oncoming trains. Police say at the time of the crash, the train engineer was given clearance to proceed. However, the derailment device had not been removed. As Navarro was guiding the engineer into the rail yard, the derailment device affected the derailment and Navarro was hit by the train car after it flipped on its side. And the city of El Paso is expected to discuss the current migrant situation this afternoon. Last week, city officials said its Office of Emergency Management partnered with the Opportunity Center for the Homeless due to an increase in migrants passing through, and the city bussed some of them to New York. I'm Erica Castillo with this KFOX 14 News Update.
News Radio 690. Traffic all day.
Montana Avenue eastbound before Global Reach Yarborough at Limerick Road. A crash there is slowing traffic. An injury accident Montwood Drive westbound at Saul Kleinfeld. An accident reported Copia Street at Fort Boulevard. And a reminder, Gateway Boulevard eastbound after Reynolds is closed. All eastbound lanes on Gateway closed for road work. Traffic's being rerouted back onto the I-10 at Reynolds on-ramp. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
After a slight drying trend over the last few days, a change in our weather pattern is bringing scattered rain and storms to much of the area. Expect mostly cloudy skies tonight with a few lingering showers, which cools overnight lows into the upper 60s by tomorrow morning. Coming up tonight, we'll take a look at our rain prospects for the rest of the week, plus how long these cooler than average temperatures stick around. From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Kira Miner.
This report is sponsored by the Our American Stories podcast.
Climbing Mount Everest wasn't always a guaranteed success, especially in the 1950s and 60s. We'll bring you the story of the first and second American ascents. Be sure to catch this week's edition of Our American Stories on the iHeartRadio app, on Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
For the local issues and discussion you won't get anywhere else, turn to Talk El Paso, weekdays at 4 right here on News Radio 690 KTSM, brought to you in part by the El Paso Community Foundation. Sound off on what matters to you, Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m., and let's talk El Paso.
iHeartRadio Earth is here with a new way to enjoy our beautiful planet. Summer's rising temperatures often coincide with rising outdoor water use. Save water and money in the yard this year by sweeping driveways, sidewalks, and steps rather than hosing them off. Don't forget to check for leaks at your spigot connection and tighten as necessary. Brought to you by iHeartRadio Earth and the National Environmental Education Foundation. To find more tips for smarter, sustainable living or to take action in your own community, go to iHeartRadio.com/Earth.
Hey, Mario Courtney Lopez here. We know how important it is to be confident in all of life's close-up moments.
And bad breath can rob you of your confidence.
Yeah, it can. Whenever I'm rubbing elbows with celebrities or friends or just chilling at home, I got to make sure I have the confidence that comes with Smart Mouth mouthwash.
Smart Mouth is clinically proven to eliminate and prevent bad breath for 24 hours with just 2 rinses a day.
Get to your favorite retailer right now for that kind of better together confidence.
Find Smart Mouth at your favorite retailer or at smartmouth.com/radio.
Staples has everything for school at prices that won't hold you back. One subject notebooks are 35 cents each. Plus, during the backpack clearance event, save up to 50% on select backpacks, lunch bags, and water bottles. In-store only. Offer ends 9/3. Limit 30 on notebooks. Send your kids forward to school at Staples. This report is sponsored by Staples Stores.
Teens in foster care will love you, even if you don't know the lingo.
Dad bod. Noun. The result of the occasional donut, always washed down with confidence.
Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council. Visit adoptuskids.org.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages, again, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk. Whatever works better for you is all you really need to know. And, of course, those are some of the many ways you can interact with the show, plus that phone line, full up again at the moment. It happens during this point during the show, but if you want to squeeze on the line here, that number to call is 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. One other national thing we'll talk about here, just because it was definitely brought up here. Kathy Codry calling out, using the term Brandon for the president, I do believe, I'm not misunderstanding you, saying using the HEROES Act to justify the handout for student debt here. I mean, that's part of the conversation, of course, part of the national tour he has going on there. So, I mean, yeah, that's definitely happening and part of the conversation here. And a lot of commentary about rent-free, it's free real estate, et cetera, et cetera. Again, if you want to go over and see the comments for yourself, they're definitely up and available over there. So if you want to get online again, that number to do so, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Do believe we have, we may have dropped the call here. Do we have Joe on the west side here with us right now?
Hello?
Joe, is that you?
Yeah, it's Joe from the west side. How you doing, Andrew?
Doing all right there. Thought we lost you there for a second. What's on your mind?
Well, I was just curious. You know, a lot of the people don't understand what George Soros is doing with these district attorneys across the nation by putting in stooges and puppets that are not forcing any laws just to bring chaos and disorder in the communist socialist agenda of the U.S. cities. I was wondering, because I don't keep up with local politics too much, is this DA we have now currently funded by George Soros in the next election? I mean, have you guys done any investigation as reporters to see if she was funded at all by George Soros groups?
I mean, the simple and question answer for that is that, I mean, public campaign donations are a matter of public record. I will say I personally have not delved entirely into the campaign donations that she got there, so I wouldn't have a concrete answer for you right off the top of my head here, but it certainly could be investigated.
Based on what Mr. Cordona was saying, I'm pretty sure she was, and Mr. Cordona was a great interview for a change, but he was wrong when he says El Paso deserves better. And that's one thing I learned from you, Andrew, is El Paso does not deserve better because the apathy here, the lack of voter turnout, you know, even the border regions along the Del Rio, Pico Pass area, they're wising up and they're not voting these demon rats in no more who just want to tear down our nation to bring communism. They're waking up to the fact that the Democrat Party is not their parents' or grandparents' Democrat Party. But sadly, here people are seeking real information. And you got people brainwashed like, Raul and our buddy from New Mexico there. It's sad, but El Paso does not deserve better at this point.
Well, okay. Well, I appreciate the point and the call for what you intended here, but I'm going to say I disagree with you on that finer point here. I mean, okay, I agree with you that people need to vote, and we do tend to get the elected officials we deserve by paying attention to it here. But I'm going to disagree with you on the idea that El Paso doesn't deserve better, because I still somehow maintain a level of optimism that if we just get more people involved and paying attention, it will improve. So we do deserve it. So I understand your pessimism to an extent there, but I just I don't know. It's not a phrase that usually applies to me in just about any other way, but the whole idea of hope springs eternal. But I do remain optimistic that we get more people involved and understanding the consequences of the vote here, because I don't even necessarily think, I guess I would have a begrudging, not even a begrudging respect anymore. I may have been at one point here for someone who says, I don't vote as a political protest. Like, okay, I could almost get it. At least it's a reasoned thought, but then saying that I would then just firmly argue with them that, yeah, but that's dumb and you shouldn't do it that way. If you want to truly protest and make your point made about your politics, actually go out and vote. But I don't even think it's that much here in our area. I think it's just a complete disconnect from people not understanding why going to the ballot box matters. And that's something, the only solution for ignorance is not punitive, but, well, removing the ignorance as much as possible, which we'll keep doing. So appreciate the point in the call. You have a good one there. Let's get to another call here on the line. Again, the number to call is 915-544-5876, 544 KTSM. We do have Barbara on the west side here with us right now. Barbara, thanks for joining us.
Hi, Andrew. Thank you for taking my call.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I attended the press conference today at the City Hall.
Oh, excellent.
3:00. And my takeaway is confusion, just more confusion.
Okay.
But the reason he said that they were going to be overwhelmed is because apparently 25 families were going to be put on the streets. So they called around. They have arrangements throughout the city to house these families and feed them and dress them or do whatever they need to do. So they did that. Mm-hmm. And he said that when asked where they wanted to go, the majority said they wanted to go to New York. And the majority of these people, they were mostly from Venezuela, he said, had the means and a sponsor to go to. But those that didn't have the means or a sponsor, and I believe she said they sent them to Chicago because that's where they wanted to go. No, I'm lying. They wanted to go to Chicago, but there weren't enough people
right.
who wanted to go to Chicago. So we have 30 people in El Paso, I believe, waiting to go to Chicago.
Mm.
So my question to him was, these that you're sending out that you say have no sponsors and have no means, how do you know who they are? Are we safe? Are they safe? Is anybody safe? And where's their final destination? And the answer to that was, that's a federal responsibility. We just transport them. We don't ask any questions. And I'm thinking that's dangerous all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
Because they don't have time to fully vet these individuals. And here we are. So they're going from one NGO, and he said, we're going to send them to the other NGO. And then I guess that NGO, if they want to go somewhere else, this is just going to be a cycle of going everywhere on the taxpayer dollar. So in another thing that he said that I totally disagree with, he said, well, we're an island here in El Paso. We're unique. We can't do what they do in San Antonio or Houston. I understand that. But for them to keep saying that we're an island, they don't recognize that we're part of the United States of America.
Mm-hmm.
And that we're part of the problem by just acquiescing to what this administration wants us to do, just ship them out. And that's what we're doing. And that was the essence of today's news conference that I got. They're coming, we're shipping them out. We don't care who they are, whether or not they have sponsors. We're just doing our job. We're just going to ship these people out. So, where are we at? And when they asked, well, were you planning on this? Or did you know about this? And he said, well, we're always planning. We weren't caught by surprise. But he said the reason they asked for help, I guess, from Governor Abbott or the state for the buses to ask if they could help transport these, and I refer to them as illegal immigrants. And he said that they did call a state on the condition that all the planning and everything else would be done by El Paso. In other words, we need your help, but we don't want you to interfere in how we're coordinating things, who we're sending, how we're transporting. So that's the agreement that they have. Because you remember a few months ago, the county and the city were both planning on calling an emergency in El Paso, but they didn't do it for political reasons. We all know that. They didn't want Governor Abbott to send in the Guard. They absolutely did not want them here. And so they didn't classify us as an emergency situation here in El Paso. But my question was, is it an emergency now? But Agustino said that they don't anticipate another incident like this. They don't anticipate shipping more or sending more, transporting more to New York, that this is just a single incident and they needed help. And it was just, to me, it was a lot of unanswered questions. And there were quite a few reporters, of course. Everybody was there. Now, I wasn't a reporter, but people were raising their hands and I was standing amongst them. So I raised my hand. And the gentleman brought the microphone to me. So he said, would you please identify yourself? I said, well, I'm not with the news media. I'm just a concerned citizen. And so they allowed me to ask the question. But I was very disappointed. And I'm just waiting to see if what Agustino told us, that this will be an isolated incident, and they don't anticipate that this will happen again. So that's where we're at.
Yeah, I have some assumptions and some expectations here because, again, my experience has been that regardless of whatever local government response has been, that essentially a lower level of this has been going on. Not necessarily constantly, it has waxed and waned to extents, but has been more or less present, hell, ever since I became aware of, started reporting on this better part of a decade ago in just my professional career. Certainly other situations have existed long before that, just my personal awareness on here. So the getting people kind of in town, immediate services, and then usually not exactly shipped out of town here, but the ability to then go out of town if they wanted to, was essentially the major purpose of the local hospitality when it came to immigration and interaction with federal officials here on it. So I'm not going to say that I expect local officials to be 100% on, yes, we have done our own individual vetting here. I mean, because very, very much it is a federal responsibility, but I share a level of concern that you're kind of expressing there with the saying that, well, we're assuming it was taken care of, because that has not exactly been the case lately with a lot of the federal response here. So just assuming it was, as opposed to saying, yes, we have a level of concern, but we don't have the power to do that, would be, I guess, some same effect in sum total, but maybe just with a little bit more eyes open would be nice there.
Well, another point that he made is the reason they have to ask for help because they don't have contracts to transport individuals. They have a specific radius that they transport them now. But when they were asking for Chicago and New York, those are places that they don't normally go to. Right. They don't transport them out of El Paso for that. So that's why they ask for help. I don't really realistically, I don't believe that this isn't going to occur again. But he said doesn't expect it to. We shall see, is all I can say.
I mean, yeah, cloudy crystal ball, as cloudy as ever, but given the many changes to the law and not even the law, the policies that are affected in place here, and the fact that long-term solutions and, again, actual legal action in terms of passing laws has been, I'm not even going to say fleeting, but non-existent. To say that we don't anticipate this again, I'm wondering what time frame that his statement applies to there. But again, only time will tell in this case. But I would say my expectation would be that winding down efforts, saying, oh, no, we can get rid of all of these resources that we've mustered for this. It won't be needed again. It's my expectation that would be a mistake, plain and simple.
And he also said that they took a pause because they have 50 individuals working and they're all exhausted. And I'm thinking, okay, they're taking a pause. But what's happening are more, surely the people that are wanting to come in didn't take a pause.
Yeah.
That was a question up in the air. There were just a lot of unanswered questions in my mind. And I was fortunate enough, the gentleman kind of wanted to pull away, to be honest, the microphone from me. But I thought, nope, I'm a citizen. I'm entitled to questions and answers. So anyway, I was one of the fortunate ones.
Yeah, well, thank you very much for your perspective on there. Do appreciate it.
Thank you, Andrew.
Sure thing. You have a good one there. I mean, we will keep talking about this issue as it comes up here, but let's squeeze in at least one more call before we hit that next break. We do have Andrew on the west side here with us right now. Andrew, thanks for joining us.
Yes, thank you. It's been said millions of times that immigration is the sole matter of the United States government.
It's definitely one of the foreign focuses here. I would also add that national defense, but I could you could put immigration as a subsection under there, if only for maintaining national sovereignty and integrity.
Yes. Now, with that in mind, the federal government is the one under this. Joe Biden is the one that said, "Let these people come in." Now, how does he expect communities to deal with catch and release, people being released and overwhelming the resources of communities?
I think, this cues into a lot of other discussions we've had here, the vacillation of the focuses between the different administrations, left and right wing on this case, has been very much from enforcement to processing and back and forth here, and we'll see what comes out of these midterms here. But I mean, essentially, I think it is has been put up by other more localized elected officials about focusing on the processing, trying to expedite that and relieve the backlog that way. And my contention has remained that doing that without solving any of the same problems, it's like trying to get more buckets to deal with the fire hose that's on without looking at maybe trying to turn down the fire hose a little bit. Like, sure, you can muster up all the buckets you want, but if you're not dealing with the sum total of the situation and all of it comprehensively, we're not going to end this process anytime soon.
Well, it ain't no fire hose. I mean, you're talking about Hoover Dam busting. That's what it is. It's like Hoover Dam busting, and you're trying to bail it out with a bucket from Home Depot. That's what this is amounting to. And you talk about a big security risk that this is posing, and that brings me to my next point concerning Comrade Raul. Okay, Biden is. The biggest mistake that the Democrats made was bringing Biden out of the basement. Okay, Biden says what's convenient for him, like we shouldn't defund the police, we should fund them. Okay, that's politically correct right now. Biden just regurgitates what his advisors tell him. Now, another thing, I'll remind Raul, I've condemned January 6th. Okay, but what I don't appreciate about this January 6th committee is that the stuff they don't tell you. How many of these trespassers on the congressional grounds were allowed in by Capitol Police? That's a given.
Yeah, the amount of enforcement that day, and I know people have pointed to the points of video here of them moving back and allowing them to proceed forward here. I mean, not being an expert in crowd control by any means, the kind of hilariously outnumbered Capitol Police at that point here, again, it makes a level of sense to me that they would be like, okay, back, regroup. I'm sure we'll have another point at which we could stop them at, and that just, I mean, if that's the sum total of the logic, you're going to have, what happened essentially. So I'm not saying it was a good idea at the time, but again, I'm not placing any individual blame on the officers involved with that or having to make split-second decisions on there, because I mean, it was every bit of video I've seen there is a whole mess, and why, again, I have fully supported a full investigation into it, which again, I've also said that some of those hearings didn't really reach that level for me.
That's true. And also, if Biden is so concerned about law and order, then he should allow his Justice Department to investigate his son, because you talk about a conflict of interest. This is the biggest conflict of interest there is. So, like I said, like I told Comrade Raul, and I say to Comrade Raul, I've criticized many times what Biden has done, but I do not condone what happened on January 6th. And I'm sure a lot of people out there who voted for Trump don't either.
Fair enough here. Well, thank you for the point in the call. Do appreciate it.
Yes, I turn the mic back over to you.
Absolutely. Have a good one there. That's going to take us through that next break here right now. Coming out of this break, we'll be short timing it, so we'll squeeze in what we can, tell you what we got coming up for you next, and close out the show. So stay tuned. More Talk El Paso after this break here on News Radio 690 KTSM.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690
Delays are getting longer on the I-10 westbound. It is because of a crash at Reynolds that's blocking the right lane. Right now, 15-minute delays between Hawkins and Reynolds. I-10 eastbound between Campbell and Trowbridge. You're looking at 12-minute delays with stop-and-go traffic. Roadwork has closed all the eastbound lanes, and traffic's being rerouted back onto the I-10 at Reynolds Street, where there's that crash. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by Indeed.com. Summer days getting shorter and business to-do lists getting longer? You need Indeed. Their all-in-one hiring solution makes it easy to attract, interview, and hire candidates, all in one place. Sponsor your first job and get hiring today by visiting Indeed.com/credit.
Hello?
Mike, this is Norma Jean at Sergio Lewis Body Shop near the airport. Have you seen Sergio?
I'm expecting him in a few minutes to cut a new commercial.
I'm really worried about him, Mike. He really believes he's a poet. It's gone to his head.
There's plenty of room up there. Anyways, his poetry isn't that bad.
Will you please have him call the shop?
Sure, Norma.
That's Norma Jean. Mike, gotta go.
Yee, she's feisty. Hey, Sergio, there you are.
Hey, Mike, I have this great new poem. Check this out, man. Sometimes even our darkest moments are enlightening. Hey, what's so funny, man?
Nothing, Sergio, really. By the way, Norma Jean called.
Really? What did she want?
Oh, she was just telling me what a big fan she is of your poetry, Sergio. Sergio Lewis Body Shop at 3800 Admiral near the airport, where it's the customer's choice, not the insurance company's, and there's a lifetime warranty on all collision repair. 593-0191.
Explore Banana Republic Factory now and enjoy 50% off everything from heritage classics to new arrivals for the season. Discover essential styles from $24.99. Find your nearest store or shop online. Only at Banana Republic Factory.
It can happen easily. A few drinks become a few too many. It's time to go, and you think of calling for a ride home. Nah, what's the worst that can happen? You get pulled over, you lose your license, you total your car, you kill someone. Drive sober or get pulled over. Paid for by NHTSA.
Explore Banana Republic Factory now and enjoy 50% off everything from heritage classics to new arrivals for the season. Discover essential styles from $24.99. Find your nearest store or shop online. Only at Banana Republic Factory.
It can happen easily. A few drinks become a few too many. It's time to go, and you think of calling for a ride home. Nah, what's the worst that can happen? You get pulled over, you lose your license, you total your car, you kill someone. Drive sober or get pulled over. Paid for by NHTSA.
Because everyone deserves excellent medical care, El Paso has its own free community medical clinic. RotoCare is a free walk-in clinic located at 301 South Schutz Drive and is devoted to improving the health of all El Pasoans, including those without insurance or legal documentation. RotoCare is open most Saturdays from 9 a.m. to noon. For more information, call 790-0700. RotoCare, because everyone deserves excellent medical care.
News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for having joined us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. That's going to just about do it for us on the show here today. Of course, tell you a little bit about what we got working on for you here. Again, conversations later in the week. Planned now for talking with University Medical Center about, again, that proposed certificate of obligation and, of course, the many discussions around it here. So we'll be talking with them about that, getting that perspective. And, of course, we'll be joined here in studio tomorrow by Stephanie Seifert, investigative reporter with our news partners there at KFOX 14. So a lot more coming up for you here and many ongoing discussions as well. Probably more on some of those petitions and other things. So, I mean, there's always something in the works here. And, of course, we'll keep focusing on those issues that affect us locally every Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m. as we do here. So, again, we're about out of time here for today. So I want to thank everyone who did tune in, call in, comment, participate in the show. Seriously, these discussions are the reason that I want to do this anyway, because I could talk anyone's ear off anywhere else. But doing it in the community and having them out in the open and making it so that people, they at least are exposed to some of the actual response from other people is important to me, and we'll keep doing that every Monday through Friday. So thank you again to everyone who did tune in, call in, comment, participate in the discussion. We'll do it again tomorrow, 4 to 6 p.m. as we do every Monday through Friday. So in the meantime, stay safe out there. Look twice for motorcycles when not on the road, and have a great evening, y'all. We'll see you tomorrow.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690
Delays are getting longer on the I-10 westbound. It is because of a crash at Reynolds that's blocking the right lane. Right now, 15-minute delays between Hawkins and Reynolds. I-10 eastbound between Campbell and Trowbridge. You're looking at 12-minute delays with stop-and-go traffic. Roadwork has closed all the eastbound lanes, and traffic's being rerouted back onto the I-10 at Reynolds Street, where there's that crash. Harry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
The El Paso Community Foundation supports the causes you feel passionate about here in the borderland, whether it's education, social services, arts and culture, the environment, health, or economic development. The El Paso Community Foundation has been promoting philanthropy and progress in our hometown region for more than 45 years. Make your mark with us. Start a fund today for good, for El Paso, forever. Learn more at epcf.org. That's epcf.org.
Portions of the following program were pre-recorded.
News